evening. Thank you for the good evening in the chat. It's nice to hear from people. And let me just look and see if we've got all of our board members. Oh, no, we do. Sorry. Thought we were missing one, but I just found the other box on Zoom. All righty. Let's see. So roll call, please.
Trustee Wells.
Here.
Trustee Lawson.
Here.
Trustee Marquez.
Here.
Vice President Diaz-Silcom.
Here.
President McAvoy.
Present. All right, report out on closed session. And we heard from our property consultant and attorney for the district and from staff, and gave direction to them on the conference for real property negotiations. And let's see, bienvenidos. Si necesita interpretación en español, por favor busque la información en el chat. Gracias. Welcome everyone to the September 22nd Redwood City School Board meeting. Thank you all for being here. I posted links in the chat for the agenda as well as how to sign up to make comments. I will repost those again as more people join. If you would like to speak to the board, please fill out the Google Doc and be sure to include your name so we know who to unmute when the time comes. You'll be given, tonight it looks like 3 minutes on the agenda. And if you need translation, we'll give you more time. If the item you wish to address is not in the agenda, you will be called on during oral communication. If the item is on the agenda, you'll be called on when that item is being addressed. And as a reminder, this is a board meeting meant for board business. The chat feature is open for members of the public to ask board members or staff clarifying questions or make a short comment to the panelists. I would ask that you please do not use the chat box for ongoing conversation or commentary. And certainly you're welcome to fill out the Google Doc and make a comment to the board and the public that way as well. And as a reminder, because we are meeting virtually, all votes will be by roll call and we are recording the meeting. And thanks again for being here. All right, let's see. Okay, any changes to the agenda?
I'll propose we move the second readings to consent. That's 14.1, 14.2, and 14.3. We didn't have a lot of discussion in the first reading or any comments, so.
Okay, and then I was also just going to see, I don't know, Dr. Baker, I know we have the Familias Unidas contract on here. Can that move to consent, or was there anything you wanted to? Okay.
No, it can move. It can move.
Okay, so 14.4, and I will say that hopefully we'll hear an update from them on a more report-like thing at a later date. So,
Right.
Okay, so we'll move 14.4. And then I was also wondering about 14.7, which is the approval of the personnel changes. There was a couple of additions of personnel.
Yeah, you can keep that on. You can put it on consent.
Okay. All right, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the changes being 14.1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 will go to consent?
So moved.
I'll second.
So Maria made the motion and Mike made the second. Eliana, how you doing? Are you, I know you're trying some, I did want to say tonight she's trying some new things with board docs. So I did tell her at any moment she can just let me know to slow down if we need to. Okay, so with that, we'll need a roll call.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Lawson.
Aye.
Trustee Marquez.
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Silcom.
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. All right, let's see. Oral communication. Let me just double check. I don't think, my mouse is not, there we go. Nope. Okay, so nothing on oral communication came in. Okay, we're on to a couple of wonderful recognitions tonight, and I'll just turn it over.
All right, perfect. So I think I've got the first one, and that's the longevity milestones with the Redwood City School District. Those wonderful people who have been working with us for several years now. So I'm going to read the board memo so that everyone understands where we are with this item. And then we will see a video, because this is a favorite item of many of the board members and myself, where we get to acknowledge those people who have been with us for 5 years in every 5-year increments. So this will be an exciting evening. So the Redwood City School District is fortunate to have a dedicated and hardworking staff. Many of our employees choose to continue serving our community for in many cases, the duration of their career. Longevity milestones occur every 5 years. Typically, school board members would present employees with a certificate and a pin at the August Welcome Back site staff meeting. However, given the current pandemic, we are recognizing these employees in a different manner. This year, employees who have reached a longevity milestone will be recognized here tonight in a video. Their certificate and pin will be mailed to them, as we are unable to present to them in a gathering due to COVID-19 pandemic. We are honored to recognize the energy, the commitment, and the impact these employees have had on countless students, and we extend a heartfelt thank you to each of them. And I think, Kyle, you have the video, correct? And here it goes.
So showing me a thumbs up saying that you have an answer. And then I also want you to make sure that you keep your books flat like a pancake or a pizza. Okay? Like right now I notice my books is not
So if you could make one comment or ask them one question back. So I would say, good morning, Melanie. What's the news?
This is good. Good morning. Good morning. Peter, you ready to go? You gonna have a good day? All right, get excited.
Exactly. And then what did Mom do to help him figure out what was missing? Well, was that the first thing they tried? Did they try some other things first?
All right, we also want to thank Aaron Keikos and Jorge Quintana for putting this video together. It was a great video, and it took them quite a bit of time and to get pictures and go out to the school sites, but I really want to give them a great shout out for this nice video.
That was amazing. I imagine board members would like to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just really pleased to see so many wonderful people still with us. I recognize my children's teachers, some of the people that I've known for years, and some of our students, former students who become teachers and vice principals, and others who have worked in the district. So I just want to say thank you very, very much for making a difference in the lives of our students and our community.
I'll say thanks to, I think there's over 100 staff members that we just saw in that presentation, and it would have been great to have actually been able to hand the pen, but the video was really well done, and I really like being able to see them in the work environment and the video clips that were in there. So thanks to longevity the last couple of years. It's been different years than before, so seeing longevity through that is outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a very cool video, and I definitely miss the in-person handing out the pins and the certificates, but very neat to see all of the faces, and especially the videos. Those were, the little clips were really cool. And just, I know some of them are here in the audience. I just want to say thank you for your commitment to our students and our families and to the district. And you know, times aren't always easy, but thank you for sticking with us through it all. So congratulations.
And I also too recognize a lot of people from preschool all the way to 8th grade teachers. I do want to thank everybody, teachers and classified staff. I think we saw a lot of smiling faces, which actually for all those people to stay in Redwood City, that's what makes this a great community. So I do appreciate all the work that you guys have and continue to do for our district.
Ditto to everything my colleagues just said, and I do see a number of the staff in the audience. So thank you so much for just everything that you do for us. And it really did warm my heart to see all these people that I've known over the years, and just really appreciate all that you do. And Mike, I was hoping that you had done, I think you did this before. I was just trying to do it quickly, but I don't have enough time. How many collective years this was? Did you happen to do that?
Oh yeah, it's over 1,000. It's like over 1,200 student, count school years of support that's gone on here. So.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Like, I think yeah, that's about what I had too. So anyway, it's remarkable to think, right? And it looks like we did get a comment that we need to make sure that we're accounting for staff who started mid-year. So we need to, I guess maybe they come at, maybe they get 5.5 years. I don't know how it works, but anyway, so I think every staff, whether you start, whatever month you start, I would think that you come in, right? Is that right, Ms. Kelly?
I'm not sure why somebody did not receive their PIN, so I will research and find out. We definitely want to capture everybody, of course. We value everyone and we're thrilled they're with us. So I'll research it tomorrow. Okay, so we'll figure that out, and our sincere apologies. And if you know of anybody else, let us know, because of course we have our systems with our, 900 staff, but I'm sure we do miss a few things here and there. So thank you for the reminder. All right, well, thank you everybody. Really appreciate all the years of service. All the panelists are clapping for you up here. Thank you. Appreciate it so much. All right, so we are on to the second item of recognition. So I would like to introduce Nicole Crawford, our new Director of Induction as of this year. Of course, she also wears another hat as the Vice Principal of Henry Ford. So I'm thrilled that she's with us tonight, and I know that she put together a great presentation for you. So I'll turn it over to Nicole if you want to unmute And Kyle will be presenting your slides. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, Wendy. Hi, everyone. Like Wendy said, I am Nicole Crawford, and I wear 2 hats in this district. I have the privilege of being Henry Ford's assistant principal, as well as Redwood City School District's director of induction. I'm pleased to be here tonight to discuss the Redwood City School District induction program and celebrate the new candidates and mentors that support the program. Can you please advance the slide? When a teacher gets his or her credential, they enter into a two-year program called induction, formerly known as BITSA. The first column in this diagram shows how a teacher may have acquired their teaching credential. Once a teacher has received their preliminary credential, they move into a second column, the oval in this diagram. As you can see, the induction program is part of the preliminary program requirements. Along with induction program, teachers are expected to have many opportunities to reflect on their practices, apply their prior knowledge, and have formative assessments and support to further them in their teaching career. Once they complete 2 years of induction, they move to the third column where they apply for their professional clear credential through the state of California. This credential is valid for the life of the holder as long as the requirements are maintained. Next slide, please. To speak more about the middle column in that last diagram, I would like to introduce the program goals here at the Redwood City School District. So the goal of the program is to support and guide the candidate in developing, assessing, and reflecting on their professional growth goals that will be completed within the first 60 days of beginning the program. And what that means is the mentor and the candidate do hours of reflection and meetings to help establish a goal for the teacher to focus on for the year. The mentor also provide just-in-time coaching for the candidate as they move through the school year. And the mentor also assists the candidate in applying the knowledge and skills that they acquired in their pre-service program. And mentors help develop the habits and mind expected in the teaching profession while working to meet the learning needs of all their students. And finally, the induction program is intended to support teachers in hopes of teacher retention. Next slide, please. So I like this visual. It'll give you an idea of the true partnership that needs to happen between the administrator, the mentor, and the teacher. Go ahead, next slide. So what is the mentor's role in the induction program? So again, they will provide just-in-time support for their candidate while working on their individual learning plan, which includes their goal. They will set both long-term and short-term goals for the year and celebrate those accomplishments along the way. There will be multiple opportunities for the candidate to be observed by their mentor, and then these opportunities help new teachers reflect on their professional practice and receive feedback from an experienced educator. Oftentimes, candidates will also get to observe their mentor or other teachers in the district. This time is extremely valuable to learn from others. Lastly, connecting candidates to their professional development opportunities to support their growth goal. Next slide, please. So what's the candidate's role? Well, each candidate is matched with a mentor and works collaboratively with that person at least 1 hour a week throughout the school year. This mentor guides the candidate through reflective practices, always striving to meet students' needs. They also strive to meet personal goals that they have created for themselves in an individualized learning plan, which is called the ILP. Go ahead to the next slide, please. And just to jazz up this slideshow, here are some smiles of our year 1 and year 2 candidates. Next slide, please. This year in induction, we are so pleased to have 39 general educators join our program. 23 of these are from year 1 and 16 are continuing with their year 2. We have 4 special education candidates who attend the San Mateo County Office of Education induction program offsite. And lastly, I have 27 wonderful general education mentors offering their time and expertise to support these new teachers. And out of those 27, 17 are new, so less than 1 year of mentoring, and 10 of them are seasoned from previous years. Next slide, please. So I know this is tiny, but the graph is helpful when you want to know how many mentors, candidates, and interns are at each site. So I did mention something that I haven't been talking about, which is interns. So interns are also supported by a mentor on the site. So you can quickly see what staffs are relatively new, what staffs have teachers who are experienced and want to mentor, and also included on this table, like I said, is the probe zero and interns. Next slide, please. All right, it's time to celebrate. Here is a list of all our induction candidates for the 2021-22 school year. Round of applause for them. So happy to have them here in the Redwood City School District. Just give you a minute to look at all those names. Go ahead, you can go on to the next slide. There we go. And here's some more selfies of our new candidates, both year 1 and year 2. Okay, next slide, please. All right, well, I love a party, so let's continue the celebration by recognizing all the mentors that have stepped up after a very challenging year to take on being a mentor to a new teacher. This program would not be possible without their support and dedication, and a round of applause for them too, please. All right, next slide, please. All right, let's talk data. We work alongside the Sinclair Group, who help us gather information about our program to help us with growth goals and to find areas of strengths and areas to improve. Although this slide is very wordy, I know, it explains the strengths and weaknesses of the 2020-2021 school year. I want to remind the audience that the mentors and candidates mostly met and observed from a distance during this school year. The survey that I shared tonight are addressing 2 key questions. Are mentors supporting and assessing candidates according to the standards? And 2, to what degree are mentors skilled in the area they need to support the access and assess candidates? The news is great. Candidates believe that their mentors were highly skilled and effective in general. Areas of support were based around observations and feedback and documentation shared between the mentors and candidates that helps support them according to the standards. So again, it was a little bit challenging due to distance learning. On the next slides coming up, you'll see green highlighting. And what this indicates is the mean rating with above 2.75 out of 3, clearly in the strongly agree area. And there'll be a few red arrows along the way. And these are when the mean or the standard deviation fell and got a little bit bigger. What that means is if the number is small, they cluster around the mean, and that is good. If the number gets a little bit bigger, then the results were a little bit more spread out. So let's look at the data. Next slide, please. All right, so there's that green I was speaking of, and I'll give you a second to glance at this slide, noticing that all the standard deviations are low, and most of the ratings are highlighted in green, which means most strongly agreed with the statement. Again, this information is from the participants from last year. Next slide, thank you, perfect. Again, there are a lot of positives here on this slide, some areas of growth that had a wider range of standard deviation. These are highlighted with the red arrow. These will be my goals this year, and I will discuss them in a further slide. Go ahead on to the next. And lastly, one more area of growth amongst many, many positives. All right, next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to highlight those red goals that we saw in those previous slides. So when I set my goals, I use that data, and I've set 4 goals. One will be working with my mentors to directly train them on keeping data in their mentor candidate logs. What's important about this data is these are detailed notes, and observations are really helpful for candidates to use on reflecting when they reflect on their teaching. There's a slight discomfort with some of the documents that the mentor and candidates have to use and submit. So my goal is to familiarize them with the documents so they can use them with confidence. I will also work with my team to use time management tools to help them with task completion. And finally, focus on providing specific, timely feedback aligned to the standards. Next slide, please. Also, in the world of induction, we have 2 panels. So I wanted to highlight the panels we have. One is a leadership panel, and you can see the members on the panel here. We meet twice a year or additionally as needed. And the panel's purpose is to provide program oversight, analyze data, and review the induction budget. Next slide, please. Secondly is the PAR panel. You can see the members here. They also meet twice a year, and the purpose of this panel is to support seasoned teachers who need additional support. The panel provides program oversight and analyzes data from the PAR candidates. Next slide, please. And I wanted to end with some more smiling faces of our new educators here in the Redwood City School District. Next slide, please. All right, we have reached the end of the presentation. I appreciate your attention as we review the induction program and celebrate our new candidates and wonderful mentors. Thank you so much.
All right, any comments?
I'd like to say thank you to everyone, from the mentors to the candidate that actually learning from the expertise and just getting more experience, to the leadership panels and everybody that meets to make sure that everyone is, covering the same curriculum and following what they need to do to teach our students. So thanks again for everyone's help.
And I would add my congratulations to all the new members, and thank you to the mentors and to everyone that's involved in the program, and of course Dr. Baker for always being so supportive of our teachers and making sure that they have what they need. Thank you.
I'll say same for the congratulations, and I like seeing the reflection through the surveys and the attention to how people assess the program, because it's clear that not just the inductees are the ones learning, but the mentors are learning too as they get to go through that. So that makes it a really neat program. Congratulations and thanks.
It's a fantastic program that we offer here in the district. Some districts, I don't know if outsource is the right word, to the County Office of Ed, but having this program here in our own district and investing in our teachers on site with our own staff members, I think is a huge part in why we are able to keep our staff here with us, because they've been mentored by their colleagues and by the colleagues who know our district well already, and not by somebody who's outside of our district. So thank you, Nicole. I'm happy to sit on that panel. I enjoy it very much. And I know we have a meeting coming up because I just saw the invite.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'll just add, Janet, to what you said, that I know in some districts, they actually charge the teachers to be part of the induction program or get their credential cleared. So it's something that we've been very proud of. No matter what our budget has looked like, we've continued with this amazing program and continued to grow it. So yeah, thank you, Nicole, for leading us. And thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Ms. Kelly, for all of your leadership with the HR, and Dr. Baker. And I just want to say welcome to our new educators. We're so happy to have you, and hopefully we'll get to see you in person very soon. And thank you to our mentors. Thank you to our mentors as well. All right, so that was a great way to start the meeting. Lots of feel good around all of our amazing staff. So thank you to all of you who put together the presentation. Really appreciate it. Okay, so we are on to bond program consent items. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Maria with the motion, Cecilia second. Roll call vote.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
Trustee Lawson,
Aye.
Trustee Marquez,
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Solcom,
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. All right, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Diaz, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, it's amazing everything they're doing. It's awesome. Okay, let's see. We are on to discussion items. So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Baker. Oh, muted.
You'd think after 18 months, I would know better, right? Good evening, everyone, and welcome again. So this evening, what we are going to do, the slide presentation that you're going to review before our discussion is going to give you an update on staff and student COVID testing. And then we also want to update you on our dashboard because we added some additional information. And we want to discuss employee vaccinations. And then we also want to go in the realm of student vaccination and what is on the horizon. So with that, Kyle, if you would start the presentation. And first up is Ms. Kelly.
Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate that. We can move to the next slide, please. So as you know, we've been updating our employees and updating our trustees and the public about the continued changes in our district regarding our availability of student testing. So prior to the start of school, we offered 2 days, August 16th and 17th, for students to test, which was great. We got a wonderful turnout, over 700 students tested, which really helped set the stage for a year that started safely. And then, and our nurses, I really want to say thank you so much to our nurses. Andrea Guerin and our nurses and our site administrators really pulled together to offer testing for symptomatic people at school, but also for the after school opportunities for screening testing, as I have mentioned in previous board meetings. But as we alluded to earlier, we now have a new organization joining us, Bay PLS, and they are a vendor through the state of California. As you recall, the state is offering free testing and personnel, 7 people that are coming to our district specifically to assist with student and staff testing. So this is the schedule that was communicated in a prior superintendent's newsletter, not this past Friday, but the Friday prior, and in other principal newsletters regarding the schedule. So for example, if a student is at, or a staff member is at Clifford, they would have the opportunity to test for COVID, the COVID-19 rapid antigen test at this point on Mondays and on Wednesdays. And you can see those time frames. And we have 2 mobile teams that are moving from site to site as we progress along. We also have each morning a mobile team that is reacting to any type of testing for students when we have a positive case. And that's been really helpful. So of course, it's just started this week. There are a few bumps along the road, getting schedules and kids and so forth. And so we appreciate everyone's patience as we've progressed along. And we have a debrief meeting every afternoon to make sure that we are managing anything along the way. So appreciate Andrea Guerin, and Antonio Perez has been amazing. He has the cell phone numbers of the BPLS staff and is texting them and meeting them here and there just to make sure things are running as smoothly as possible. So the bad news I'm bringing to you, and I hate to be the messenger on this, I mentioned it last time, is that we are running low of COVID tests, and it's not just in the Redwood City School District, it's actually a nationwide problem. So we created a schedule for students and staff to be tested twice a week if they so desire, but unfortunately we will need to reduce that to once a week, primarily because of our supply that is low, and it is low across the nation. So I'm hoping that that changes soon so that we can go back. However, I will discuss as we progress along other opportunities besides the Redwood City School District for families to test their children and themselves. Next slide, please, Kyle. So one of the ahas we discovered this week was that we have about 2,200 students that have registered for potential testing. We encouraged at May's Days, the principals did a great job. It was out in communication and newsletters for parents to sign up to register to test. And what that allows us to do is administer a test in case a student is symptomatic at school. However, we are realizing that an appointment is needed. And what that means is an appointment for screening tests for students specifically would be helpful. We are not sure that every parent that registered wants their child tested every single week. We made that assumption because we did that last spring. So what will start occurring, and we will be discussing this with our site administrators tomorrow, is that on Friday afternoons through the primary health system, an email will be sent to the 2,200 students who have registered and ongoing, if that number increases, asking them to just quickly mark whether they would like their student to be escorted from class to be tested during school at one of the designated time slots on site. So that will really help us manage numbers. That will help us with a streamlined process during the school day and making sure we have the appropriate number of staff to accommodate the needs at the school. So families can start looking for that email from primary health starting on Friday afternoon and each Friday afternoon ongoing. There is also a, and as you know, as you may or know or not know, students are attending outdoor ed. And so Antonio and Andrea Guerin with the nurses coordinated Roosevelt send-off. It's a requirement for outdoor ed in this case, 5th grade, sometimes 6th grade because it was missed last year, for students to test within 3 days of leaving for outdoor ed. And outdoor ed departs on a Monday. So on Friday, Antonio Perez and Roosevelt staff, led by Tina Mercer, who did a great job making sure everyone was registered, tested every child on Friday morning. And so our Bay PLS group will be helping with that moving forward, starting with MIT this Friday. We did have a backups day Sunday afternoon that we were ready to advertise. And then that was no longer needed. We also were ready Monday morning for the last minute situations. We're not offering the PCR test in this particular situation for certainly outdoor ed because we need results immediately and for other situations, but it is an item that will be in our inventory as we progress on. Although the PCR tests, those are the tests in which we used last spring at most sites. They take usually multiple days to receive the results versus the rapid antigen test in which we know results in 15 minutes. So we will be using both tests, but we are preferring rapid antigen and certainly in certain situations. Next slide, please, Kyle. So along with our tests, there are other organizations that are offering testing, and we encourage families to use those sites as well. Once again, we're all low on tests in general. However, it's spreading the wealth a little bit if families want to go to other organizations to test. Plus, these organizations are available for adults and other siblings that may not be current RCSD students. And of course, our staff has the option. So we wanted to make sure and remind people that these are some opportunities. Next slide, please, Kyle. So switching gears a bit, and I brought the updates at our last meeting, and I want to continue to remind everyone that we have an updated COVID dashboard. Jorge Quintana manages the COVID dashboard with assistance from Antonio Perez and Aaron Keikos. And it is updated on Thursdays, and I recognize we have board meetings on Wednesdays, so I feel like I'm bringing you a 1 week old data. But as you recall from our last meeting, we did include other adults because we do have some partners that are on our sites assisting our students in their education as well. And so that is identified in that last column. And we do update about student enrollment, student cases, and staff as well. Next slide, Kyle. So one new item since our last board meeting, since we last met, is that there have been changes to the pandemic framework regarding modified quarantine for before school and after school programs. Our district has after school programs on our campuses, and there are some caveats in regards to what is considered a modified quarantine for students. So one important point is that the after school program needs to be located at the school site. We do have a couple of organizations that transport students to other sites, so that falls under a different realm. But we do recognize that this modified quarantine is located at the school site. And so in the blue section down below, we listed the sites that have these specific after school programs that would fall under the modified quarantine, which means that they would be allowed to attend the after school program. In the publications prior to this announcement, there was a modified quarantine for all after school and before school programs. And so we want to make sure that, and that our after school partners are adhering to these, and they have been notified by Antonio Perez. Next slide, please. So I have an update for you regarding employee vaccinations, and we have been madly ensuring that people are responding. We have quite a few employees in our district, approximately 850, not including our vacancies. And so at this point in time, this is the breakdown of our vaccination. We have 753 employees, almost 91%, that have let HR know that they are vaccinated. We have 50 employees that have self-identified as unvaccinated, and 26 that still need to respond as of 5 o'clock today. Next slide, please, Kyle. So within the unvaccinated employee group, there are 28 employees who stated they will never receive the vaccination. And I'll break that down in just a moment. 21 that said maybe in the future, and then 1 is in progress at this time. So what that leads HR to do is to reach out to the 49 unvaccinated people, and we have done so already in regards to testing as required by the soft mandate. But moving forward, we will also be exploring various exemptions, religious or medical exemptions, and working with the employee to offer potential accommodations as needed. And as you know, unvaccinated employees must submit a test result to HR each week. Next slide, please, Kyle. So last meeting, I brought this slide to you, this exact slide. I added a few more items on the right here under soft mandate, but there is a lot of conversation in the media and on the news about employers requiring vaccination mandates for employees. We have not received new guidance from San Mateo County Office of Education yet. And so we're watching that closely. However, this will be part of the conversation that Dr. Baker will be entering in with all of you in just a few moments after we discuss students. But I wanted to just remind all of you about the differences between the hard mandate and the soft mandate in regards to requiring vaccinations for employees. Under the hard mandate, an employee must be vaccinated as a condition of employment. So we do have the legal right to enforce that. So a condition of employment is such where we state that they must have the vaccination, or we move down the termination process. And there is a formal process in Ed Code to go down that route. The soft mandate allows employees to be vaccinated while they're at work, of course, and prove it by sending in their vaccination card, which we are collecting now. We have 200 employees that have turned it in, and sent out another reminder today. Or if employees are unvaccinated, so for example, the 50 I just mentioned in the previous slide, they test once a week, they turn their test in, and we continue to provide any specialized PPE if needed to that employee. So under the soft mandate, we do keep our employees in paid status as employees versus going down the termination route. And if we needs to quarantine, we would provide substitutes or attempt to get substitutes. We're still trying to hire for substitutes. And then once again, as I mentioned, provide reasonable accommodations. Next slide, please, Kyle. So my recommendation from Human Resources at this time of year, and with the information we know at this moment, is that I recommend for a soft mandate. We may need to revisit this as we prepare for the 22-23 school year. However, we are in September, and I am concerned about the additional reduced workforce that we have in the Bay Area to draw from for both certificated and classified employees. As of today, we have 26 unfilled positions currently in our budget. This does not include our need for substitutes. And then we have 35 classified vacancies, which do not also include yard duty vacancies, which we're posting for as well. So I do not want to add to the vacancies that we currently have by forcing our 50 people who are currently unvaccinated to be vaccinated. So it will allow our valued employees to be in paid status and assist them with a substitute should that be the case, particularly at this time of year. So that is my recommendation from Human Resources. So are there any questions up until this point? I will be turning over the remainder of the slideshow to Dr. Baker. But are there any questions about those slides that I can answer before he begins?
So I don't know if this is the time to do this. You did allude to a process of termination or releasing. Are you able to speak briefly to how significant of a process that is and what kind of workload that puts on HR? And if you want to come back to that another time, that's fine.
No, it's a very well laid out process on the procedures to terminate an employee, but it starts with a notice of intent to dismiss, and that would come after the board has determined a hard mandate. We would receive guidance from our attorney. We would let the appropriate union know, and of course the employee would receive all of this information. Then the employee attends a Skelly hearing with an administrator at the district office, who is not me. And then there is a meeting in which the employee pleads their case. Then the Skelly officer makes a determination on whether this case through due process will go to the board. The board would be represented by an attorney. The district would have an attorney, and then the employee would also have representation. And then that usually concludes in about a 2-hour meeting in which the case unfolds. And then the board makes a determination on termination for that employee or reinstating the employee. that is the steps. So for an average termination process, it can take anywhere from 5 to 10 hours of preparation and work with the attorney outside of meeting time. Times 50.
Thank you.
Sure.
And then I do have a question. Do we know if, obviously we're not filling positions, do we know if people are afraid to come in to work because of the pandemic?
So we have, and this is up and down the county, this is not Redwood City, I want to be very clear. We have frequent meetings with all the other human resource departments in the county. So in a regular year in which we are not in a pandemic, we have approximately 40 substitutes that work daily with us. This year we have 10. So there are lots of reasons why substitutes are not choosing to work. And so that is concerning. Some of it is concerned about health. Some of it is concerned about people they live with. Later on in the agenda, I will be requesting an increase of substitute rates. We actually we have been competitive over the last few years, but it's a time to revisit that. That's not my biggest concern, but I do want to draw for substitutes. In regards to our vacancies, this is also, I've never had 26 certificated openings at this time of year. So this is a result of once again, people moving out of the area and some members resigning after July 1st. By Ed Code, it's required for certificated people to resign prior to June 30th, but we did have some people that resigned or retired after July 1st. So that allows us to be in sort of a poor situation for hiring. We don't have as many people to choose from at that time of year during the summer. And then with classified positions, they're ongoing, right? For classified, we don't have a contract like a certificated teacher would, for example. So we hire throughout the year. However, 35 positions at this time of year is more than we normally have. Usually it's about 10 outside of yard duty. So hopefully that answers Cecilia. I went on and on about a few other topics.
Well, and Wendy, from all I'm hearing, and I know you're hearing the same thing, is this is an issue up and down the state right now, right? Because in part, because of some of the stimulus money, districts have been hiring extra staff, not laying off as many staff as might have been otherwise. And then also just limited number of people interested in the jobs, and just everybody is scrambling. I mean, some of the districts have hundreds of positions not filled, right? In key classrooms. So
that's right. We do up and down the state, we have teacher and instructional assistants, for definitely a shortage in those two areas. But there was not a lot of transition in general with people that were moving districts during the pandemic. People essentially buckled down, not everybody, of course, but there was more of a trend. However, nationwide, 20%, there was an increase of 20% of those that resigned or retired from the profession altogether. So it's created a perfect storm in our situation. So this is my recommendation for the soft mandate for those reasons.
one question, assuming that the state at some point moves forward with a student mandate for vaccinations, I was just curious if that typically goes over to staff as well. I would assume that if students have to have a certain list of vaccinations, and if COVID got added to that list, is there also some place in Ed Code where the staff who are working with those children also have to have the same vaccinations, or not?
So we are awaiting that information. I'm attending a training next week on where this is going to go for employees. So I don't have that answer for you right now, but if we look around at other industries, there is a movement in that direction. So it would be too premature for me to give you an answer tonight, but I might be able to follow up at our next board meeting or on October 20th. All right, well, without further questions at this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Baker to continue.
Great, thank you, Wendy.
Mhm.
So Kyle, if we could go to the next slide, please. So we're going to be talking tonight about vaccines for children, and there is so much information on social media, on news networks. It seems to be changing every day, but one thing that I really wanted to bring to your attention is that if you look at this first bullet, you will see that the COVID-19 vaccine, the Pfizer one that's out right now for those 12 years of age and older, is quite effective. And you will see that nationwide, there are 12 million children from 12 to 17 years old that are fully vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine. Since we started school, this is our 5th week, but during our 4 weeks, we've had 27 student cases out of 6,375 students that are enrolled in the Redwood City School District that have been positive. Now, Pfizer vaccine, as you all know, is on the horizon for 5 to 11-year-olds. And we all know that it's coming, and that they are going to be submitting all their information to the FDA by the end of this month for authorization to use this vaccine in this age group from 5 to 11. It's a hope, as you listen to news broadcasts, read in social media, that this possibly could start by the end of October. So I know many of you have attended meetings with Superintendent Nancy McGee, the County Office of Ed Superintendent, and listened to her, and also have listened to your other colleagues on different boards here in San Mateo County. We had a superintendent's meeting last week on Tuesday, and we have one again on Friday from 9 to 2. And one of our major discussions that's going to take place, next slide, Kyle, is a letter to Governor Newsom and to the legislature. And this letter is going to be created by the superintendents, and we're going to present it to our boards, and we would like each of our board members to approve it along with the resolution to move forward to the governor's office and to our local legislators to mandate that when this vaccine is ready and approved to go, that we mandate it by the state of California, as other vaccines are mandated before students enter school. We feel by going in this direction, it'll give us more clout in moving forward with our communities, and also creating our ability to work with outside entities to make this happen. What you will find that Superintendent McGee is working very closely with the San Mateo County Health Department is to see, once it's approved, to get clinics at least in some of our schools in each district so that we can move this along. We do understand that parents may have concerns, and we would want them to talk to their local pediatricians in regard to this, but it's a really strong initiative that all superintendents feel in order for us to continue in-person instruction, we must have this mandate so that our students, when the vaccine is able and approved, we can mandate it. I know, as I said previously, you have been in meetings also with Superintendent McGee, along with your colleagues from other boards. And so I am hoping from Friday's meeting, we will determine that template and move it forward. As you understand, the Sequoia High School District did submit a letter last week. And that letter was indicating that this mandate needed to occur as soon as possible. I am very much in favor of going in this direction and will be recommending this to you also. We will be guided with a lot of different PR pieces to definitely inform our own communities, especially our Hispanic community, of how important this vaccine is. And then we will develop a time period of how long parents will have to get that vaccine before there are other consequences like independent study. So this is the direction I want our district to go in. And I am very hopeful of everything that I've been reading that the FDA is going to approve the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine by the end of this month. I mean, they'll get the FDA data to them, and by the end of October, we can start issuing the vaccine. Now I'd like to have this discussion where I hear from you about Redwood City joining other San Mateo County school districts, which have started to advocate to the state to mandate this vaccination. So it'd be mandating it once children 5 years old and above can take it, mandating it as soon as we can once it's approved.
Should we start?
Please.
Lisa, should I go first? Is that all right? Yeah. Okay.
Please, go ahead, Mike.
Okay. So I think that, okay, so we covered a lot there. I guess I'll work backwards through this. You know, I'm in favor of vaccine mandates. There are a lot of, I don't know where it's coming. You know, I think the facts were already presented and shared. Requiring a vaccine is not new. The vaccine's been determined safe and effective. Already for people 12 and up, we're hoping in October even more. Millions of our 12 to 17-year-olds are already fully vaccinated. You know, and in addition, we know that the outcomes of the disease are much worse for the unvaccinated than they are for the vaccinated. It's true around the county, the state, the country. Even when LA Unified in their board packet for their resolution to require vaccination, you know, they reference CDC studies that are showing that unvaccinated are nearly 5 times more likely to be infected and 29 times more likely to end up in the hospital. And, you know, the vaccine is safe and effective, and it has perhaps the strongest layer of protection available in the multi-layered response kind of protocol. There are concerns, you know, and I want to acknowledge that there could be concerns that vaccine mandates might have disparate effects on individuals from disadvantaged communities. But, you know, there's an opinion piece in the New York Times that was written by 2 directors at the ACLU discussing this point and was shared with the board. You know, in the article, they say that, you know, such concerns need to be taken seriously, that they don't justify refusals to be vaccinated. But every effort should be made to ensure that vaccines are equally available, you know, to all those, and make sure that there are no obstacles posed by cost, race, immigration status, geography, job responsibilities. You know, and I agree with that stance. And I think we need to, as part of our response, look for barriers to vaccination and eliminate them where we can, perhaps even including that in the letter. It bolsters the effectiveness of the mandate. So yeah, I'm in favor of the vaccine mandate. So the question is, right, really, like, is it the right approach to say, let's go and advocate for it together with our fellow counties? You know, and I think on student vaccinations, it seems like we probably have the legal authority to require eligible students to be vaccinated even right now. You know, we do have a robust independent study with virtual learning for families that would prefer that for their child. But I agree. I just don't think we have the bandwidth to do anything more than gathering with the group. You know, shouldering anything else kind of brings on a distraction that I think would outweigh the benefits. And I think it really would be helpful to have a consistent approach across the county. So much easier for people to understand and follow. So I think we should we should get the counties to, we should do as you proposed, which is get this letter that's written by the different districts and send it so that we can have a consistent application. And really, get us focused, get the school district not focused on the legislating part of it, but focused just on the enforcement of ed code and have that time instead to focus on education.
Very good. Yep.
The other thing I just wanted to go back to the employee vaccination. The numbers are encouraging. It's encouraging to see that it's a higher rate than we had seen before. And depending on the status of the unreported numbers, we might be right around higher, right? Could be a little bit higher, could be a little bit lower than the county rate, which I last checked was around 93%. It's pretty close either way. And so I think, HR's suggestion to remain with soft mandate is acceptable right now. For me personally, it's really less about the staffing disruption and the process that comes through. I think mandates are coming in the future. But really, it's about the lower number of unvaccinated than we had previously. It's the high vaccination rate. It makes it feel a little less urgent to have to change the policy and bring that also another kind of distraction at the time, really, into, on board here. I think it would be helpful to get a sense of how big of an interruption. You gave us a couple of the hours here, but I'd also just like to know, not which positions per se, but is it going to interrupt food services? Is it what's going to get interrupted if people that are currently unvaccinated choose not to get vaccinated? How much of learning time is going to get interrupted? The other thing is I'm keeping in mind as we're talking through this, the kind of the context that we're in, which is different than a lot of other counties, both in California, even, and around the nation. Our positive student case rate, you showed 3 last week. So our positive case rate is pretty low, and our staff is really low, 1 or 2 staff per week. According to the county dashboard, 90% of Redwood City residents are vaccinated, 82% of North Fair Oaks. So it's much better than the state's 60% average. Right. And even if we were to adopt the state, even when a mandate comes, it's not going to go into effect. I mean, if we use LA Unified as the timeline, it's not going to start requiring the first dose until near the end of November, right. Second dose till mid-December. So there is this time to actually go and get a deliberate response and work through the other districts there. So I keep that in mind too. I think our high community vaccination rates indicates that we can also, in the meantime, do things that, sort of plead for people to go get vaccinated. People are getting vaccinated. Staff is getting vaccinated. I think encouraging people and reminding them to keep getting vaccinated in the newsletters and other communications and maybe other campaigns that we can come up with would be great. And that we might even get to a high rate of vaccination without even having to fall back on a mandate, but we'll always have that. And then, of course, the third prong of any campaign is state advocacy, and you've already addressed that. So yeah, I support that. I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Mike.
So I did want to mention we have one speaker card. Thank you, Mike, by the way. Well said, everything you just said. We have one speaker card. We can take it at the end of the board comments, or we could take it now and then take the rest of the board comments. It's up to you all.
I think we're on a roll with Mike right now, so we should probably stick with.
Let's keep going. Okay, great. All right, Janet, you're up.
Oh, that meant me?
Oh.
I don't want to follow Mike. He basically said everything that I would. I don't have anything much to add to that. I'm encouraged to see the employee vaccination rate up from what we last heard. And that's kind of what I expected would happen. And I think that as far as, sending a letter to the governor, I think that our county has been incredibly collaborative. We already are, but I think through this pandemic, especially with this superintendents and the elected leaders and the school board members, and I'm fully on board with, the county getting together and sending similar letters encouraging the governor to mandate the vaccine for students, along with all the other vaccines that are already mandated for them. I'm not sure when it's approved for the 5 to 11-year-olds, that's going to be under emergency use
agreement, correct?
And so I don't know that the governor would mandate that for students until it's fully approved by the FDA. I expect that would probably follow fairly quickly in the grand scheme of things. So.
Okay, great. Thank you, Janet.
And I would echo my colleagues' comments as well. I am in favor of mandating the vaccine. The only ones that I think we need to give an exception to are those that are, recommended by their physicians not to have it for whatever reason. I know that there are some people who are still concerned, but we have to get TB test and provide you with documentation as a school board member as well. So this is just one more of those things that we will have to do in order to keep our students and our staff safe. So I am in favor of sending the letter as well. And I'm encouraged by the fact that the vaccine for the younger children is coming soon. But I think, as Jen had mentioned, I'm not sure the governor can mandate it until it's fully approved. I think they can strongly encourage it, but I am optimistic that having worked with the county and all our other partners, we can get as many of our students vaccinated quickly. As Mike mentioned, all the numbers here are going up. So I think that, I'm okay with the soft mandate at the moment because of that. And I think we just need to follow up with the employees that don't want to do it for whatever reason. And again, if it's a medical decision, then it's up to their doctor, not up to me to mandate that. I don't know their health situation, and I wouldn't be comfortable mandating that for them.
Can I just follow up on that comment about the medical exemption? Just in our last meeting with Nancy McGee, Claire Cunningham mentioned that, and she said currently the only existing medical exemption for the COVID, or the only existing medical reason would be an allergic reaction to the first shot.
Right, and that has happened. So I didn't want to say that for people, but that would be a good reason.
And for me, I'm with everyone. I am all for the vaccine. I do think that it would be moving in the right direction for our staff and student safety. And again, like everyone has mentioned, I'm okay with the soft mandate for now as far as the employees. I also do know that a lot of people are getting vaccinated even though they were having second thoughts. I do think that there's a lot of misinterpretation or misunderstandings. There's still a lot of fear out there, but hopefully as time goes on, now sometimes even if you want to go get something to eat, you're going to need to show vaccination. So why not at the school, in the classroom, where there's a lot of, again, right now, students that are sorry, I pressed the mute up button. There's a lot of students that are still at risk because of the vaccine for the younger students. So again, I think moving in the right direction, hopefully as time goes on, things would get better for everyone.
So first of all, thank you. I agree with my colleagues and everything they said. I wanted to say thank you very much to Dr. Baker and Wendy Kelly and just everybody who's been working hard on thinking about all of this. And, one of the things I want to say is I think we have a lot to celebrate. Before I talk specifically about my comments on the vaccine, I just want to say, I'm so proud of the numbers that we're seeing. Seeing that dashboard, I know I look at it every week. I'm sure most of us do. And we have very few cases, positive cases that are coming into our schools by students and staff, and we're not seeing transmissions in the schools. So what that tells me is that all of our various health and safety protocols and the vaccines and the testing and the masking and all the PPE and the hand washing and the social distancing where appropriate, all of that is working really well, right? And we know that we're going to see positive cases that mirror the community right now, which is basically what we're seeing. So I just want to say, congrats to everybody in the school system, including all of our parents and families and students and staff and everybody who's really doing their part in keeping everybody safe, as well as allowing our students to be in person. So it's just really exciting to see that going on this year. So thank you. I did want to say that I know a number of us have been in a lot of conversations the last several weeks, including those with other school board members in San Mateo County and with our County Superintendent Nancy McGee. And so I'm extremely supportive of going ahead and being a part of this advocacy effort. I think there's power in numbers. Given San Mateo County, we have many more very small to medium school districts. It's better to come as a county collectively. We're still not even the size of an LA Unified or a Fresno or some of these other districts. So I think it makes sense for us to work collaboratively. We need to share resources and be smart about how we're doing things. So it makes a lot of sense to me to do that. And I know it's something that I advocated for early on. I also wanted to mention that, we've had a number of conversations from our Chief Deputy of San Mateo County Office of County Counsel, Claire Cunningham, who's, been in there a long time. She used to be our county counsel in Redwood City, very knowledgeable and experienced and really does her homework. And what she's saying right now is for those districts that are going with hard mandates, what they're seeing is, for the most part, the employees that are coming forward who are not mandated, it's either a health reason, a legitimate health reason, or we're seeing sincerely held religious beliefs. And so I would expect that if and when we go a hard mandate, whether it's, required by the state or what have you, we would see a similar sort of thing. So one of the things I'm looking at, and I would just encourage us to think about with our employees, I'll start with that. So we have 28 employees who say they'll never receive the vaccination, and it would be good to know, do they have the health reason or the sincerely held religious belief? Because that's sort of one piece of information for us to know. And then you either, help them get accommodations or terminate, right? And you go through that process as you talked about, Wendy. And then the 21 who may receive vaccination, maybe there's an opportunity for us to assist in that, right? So some further education on why are you not getting it? Is it a fear? Could we help with, more education? Is it just availability? We know that it's actually fairly easy to get a vaccine, but maybe not everybody knows that. So can we help with that? So, I think our numbers look really, really good, which gives me a lot of, comfort as well. And then, back to the student mandate, I think, I agree with my colleagues. They've already sort of mentioned kind of the pros and cons. And I like the idea of working with our county to basically get a mandate from the state. And the California Department of Health, they could do it rather quickly by adding to the list. And then the state legislature certainly could do it, but it would take a little longer because it's through the Ed Code. And of course, they're just closed up. So that would take a little longer, but the California Department of Health could do it right away. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And I'm hearing from colleagues up and down the state that, it doesn't make sense for 1,000 school districts to be fighting this battle locally, and that we really need the support of the state now to do it, to help us. So I like the idea of the advocacy. So I think that probably answers some of the questions I think you all had from us. And then we do have one speaker card. So why don't we take the speaker card? Oh, I know, Wendy, I did have one other question is, have you had conversations with the unions on vaccines or anything that's bubbled up from, regular conversations you have with the union leadership on vaccines?
Regarding a concern?
Well, concerns, or would they like to see a mandate? I was just curious from our union leadership.
So we've been primarily focused on making sure people are turning in their vaccination information so we have accurate data. But I meet with air and washburn every 2 weeks. So that is something that is always on our agenda. So I can find out what their perspective is. And then we'll continue with CSCA as well. So not about a soft versus a hard mandate per se, but certainly vaccination and the rates and encouraging people to submit their information has been our primary focus right now.
Great, thank you. All right, so let's see, we have one speaker card. Kyle, if you could unmute Cameron Hoffman, that would be great.
Cameron should be unmuted.
I am.
All right, welcome, Cameron.
Thank you. Thank you for seeking community input on these important topics. First, as communicated directly to the board, I fully support a student vaccine requirement for all eligible students, including my own under 12 children, as soon as they are eligible, even under emergency authorization. And it sounds like you have no one objecting tonight. Vaccines protect staff, students, and families, making schools safer, and student COVID vaccines facilitate consistent in-person education by mitigating lengthy illness, avoiding at-home quarantines, and preventing classroom shutdowns. These are the core mandates of this board: school safety and facilitating education. Redwood City's devastating results from last spring show major academic deficits across the majority of the district's students. That tells us in-person education must be prioritized through this winter. And while we all agree that student vaccines are likely best addressed at the state level, the reality is it's late September, with winter arriving soon, and no state action appears imminent. So this board will need to act, and act quickly, if it agrees that student vaccines enhance school safety and would support consistent in-person education. We can also easily do both, just like Oakland, which is tonight moving forward with a student vaccine requirement, while also asking its superintendent to continue to advocate for a state-level rule. With respect to staff vaccine requirements, many neighboring San Mateo districts have high rates of voluntary vaccination among their employees that are equal to or exceed the now nearly 95% county rate. Over 95% of school district employees are vaccinated in Belmont Redwood Shores and San Carlos, 96% for Menlo Park, 97% for Burlingame, 99% for Hillsborough, and 100% for Portola Valley. We are not there yet. With today's update, we're at 90% vaccinated. I agree, much better, but still not great, and leaves 1 in 10 employees putting our community at unnecessary risk. This compares to Belmont, which has just 7 unvaccinated employees and 8 non-responses, and also compares to Hillsborough, that's down to just 3 total employees not yet vaccinated or confirmed. School staff who are unvaccinated and have an exposure must be kept home to quarantine, unlike students and vaccinated staff who can remain in schools. So we face staff shortages either way: potential resignations we can plan for, or last-minute classroom chaos for the children when unvaccinated teachers have exposures. Moreover, recent news coverage has also shown employees are not resigning at companies like United and Tyson Food and other California school districts. Instead, they simply get their vaccines, especially now that there's full FDA approval and 6 billion doses delivered globally. Lastly, the high staff vaccination rates in our neighboring San Mateo County districts show it's possible to achieve high rates without staff loss if we have sufficient HR support for the process. There are remaining 76 employees, unvaccinated or unconfirmed, in our district that are putting students, staff, families, and vulnerable community members at unnecessary risk each day. I would ask the board to solve this gap urgently, whether it's with a hard mandate or at a minimum, more effective HR processes to bring us into alignment with our neighboring districts in the county and with the overall county norms. We are lucky to have very few cases right now, but that's just until the next surge. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cameron, for your comments. Appreciate them. One question, Dr. Baker, I know I asked this question at our last San Mateo County School Boards Association meeting of board members who were in attendance, and also of Nancy McGee, if she knew if there were any districts within our county who have moved forward with hard mandates for either staff or students, and I was told no. I think there's some who are talking about it sort of like us, but none that are actively moving forward, having votes or anything like that. I was just curious if you've heard anything differently.
Nothing differently. As of
Yeah.
Tuesday, last Tuesday.
So I think all of us have been very much in the mode of strong encouragement, assistance, as much as we can do to support and help get everybody vaccinated. So good. Well, we are moving in the right direction, getting everybody vaccinated, and we'll look forward to that advocacy letter. It seems like that was the direction that board members gave Dr. Baker. Is there anything else to add before we close this one out? All right. Well, thank you very much, and we'll keep on moving forward. So let's see, we are on to consent items. As a reminder, we moved up 14.1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 to consent. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Maria and Mike with a second. Roll call vote.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Lawson.
Aye.
Trustee Marquez.
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Solcom.
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. All right, we're on to 14.5, the unaudited actuals, financial statements.
Priscilla.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm going to share with you my PowerPoint presentation. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, I'm very happy to present to you the result of the 12-month operation for the 2021 fiscal year. And as you know, this has been a very challenging year. And before I even present, I just wanted to acknowledge, the hard work and the commitment of our staff who really work hard and work extra hours and weekends to put this together. So I'm very really thankful for their commitment and also the cooperation of all the departments in helping us with this process. So the very first slide is the basis of this report. So it's an education code requirement that all school districts will have to present to the board the result of their operation and show the actual receipts and expenditures for the fiscal year. So the deadline for the submission of this report is September 15, and the County Office of Education have 30 days to review and then eventually transmit the report to the Department of Education. As you know, this is September 22 now. We are a week delayed, but we are in communication with the County Office of Education, and we have actually provided them with a report, the board packet that was put together last Friday. So they actually have the reports if they wanted to start the review, and they know that it will be presented for board approval today. So as you know, these unaudited actuals are year-end financial statements, and it will show the actual amount earned, revenues earned for the year, and the actual expenditures incurred. So the last time you've seen the financial data for the 2021 fiscal year is during the budget adoption, where we presented to you the estimated actuals for 2021. The estimated actuals are pre-closing numbers, and they're all based on budgeted revenues and budgeted expenditures. This year-end report and audited actuals are the real numbers that we've actually be closing this fiscal year with. And so the ending balances based on this report will be carried forward to the 21-22 fiscal year, and it will be audited and verified by our auditors and determine whether all the numbers were captured accurately, and they will make an adjustment if there's anything missed. So one of the things that I wanted to point out that would really help us understand why we have this much of ending balance and what happens with the revenues and expenditures is to understand what transpired in the 2021 fiscal year. So 2021 is our second year as a basic aid district. And also in 2021, we have the COVID-19 pandemic. We implemented at-home learning for students, but we partially opened in-person instruction in January 2021. So all of these have an impact, as I'm going to discuss with you, the result of operations in various funds. During the 2021 year also, we've experienced our first court orders that reduced our property taxes as we are now basic aid. So there were two court cases that were settled that had impact on us by reducing our property tax revenues. One is the City of Redwood City against the Department of Finance, and that was 2.4 million. And we have the 2019-20 adjustment resulting from the City of Chula Vista versus Sandoval case, which reduced our funding by 1 million. And we also, during this year in 2021, we have received COVID-19 resources from the state and federal government. When we closed the 1920, we don't know about any stimulus money that we get. So in 1920, we'd set up our own emergency account. The board approved 500,000 to be set up. So now in 2021, we know that there are some money that's coming to the district. So that amount is still intact, as you're going to see in the funds. So also in 2021, regarding the status of collective bargaining negotiations, RCTA and RCAA are settled for 2 years, 2021 and 21-22. CSEA is not settled at this time. So this is the total number of student enrollment for the 2021 year. We have 6,770 based on our 2020 CalPAD. So this is the basis of our calculation for LCFF funding in terms of the enrollment portion of it. So we have these by school site and then by ethnicity. So as you know, we have 7 district funds, and I'm going to show you the result of operations for all of these 7 funds, general fund being our main operating fund. And then we have child development, cafeteria, and the rest of these 4 funds are facilities related. The deferred maintenance building fund for our GO bonds, the developer fees in Fund 25 for capital facilities, and then we have leftover for capital outlay projects in Fund 40. In the SACS report, you will notice that there's a Fund 51. These are not recorded in the district's books. These are information that we get from the county controller's office showing how much of the GO bonds from this Fund 21 are we paying principals and interest, not us paying, but the voters are paying. So that's a disclosure that we have to do, that it will be included in our year-end report. So for the general fund, and I can't see all of you, so if you have any questions on any of the slides, please feel free to ask questions, and I'm gonna answer them as we go along. But for the general fund, this is the combined restricted and unrestricted. Our general fund revenue is 114.2 million, and 78.2 million of that is based on the LCFF, the basic aid revenue. So in the pie chart, this blue and until through this state aid here and the purple, these items are all the basic aid funding. And then we also get, of course, property taxes through the SELPA, for the county SELPA, 4.5 million. Then we get federal 10.6, state revenues 11.4. These 2 items include the federal and state COVID-19 grants. Then we get our lottery revenue, which is slightly lower than, higher than prior year. And then our local revenues here and the Measure U parcel taxes. So in total, that's the amount of revenues that we earned for the 2021 fiscal year. So this next slide shows the general fund expenditures. So in total, we have 106.4 million in total general fund restricted and unrestricted expenditures. So the main bulk of our expenditures, of course, are salaries and benefits of 83.5 million. And then books and supplies, services, and other operating expenses, which includes contracts for consultants, for our special education program, and then a small amount for capital outlay, which is installation of some items for COVID-19. And then this transfer out is a payment to the county office for programs that we participate in. So in total, that's 106.4 million. So that same number that I've shown you, 114.2 million in revenues and 106 in expenditures. This slide just shows you the major categories in the general fund. So this column, the unrestricted and routine restricted maintenance, the RRMA, are our operational funds. So this is mainly, where we paid salaries that are in the unrestricted programs. And then this also, the result of this column, it shows our fiscal condition. Do we have enough reserve? Do we not have enough reserve for economic uncertainties and things like that? So this is the indicator of our fiscal stability and that the county is and the state are actually looking at more thoroughly. So the other two major categories that are included in the general fund is special education program, and then the categoricals. The categoricals, they call it categoricals, are grants and other entitlements that are given to the school districts with specific spending requirements. So we cannot use them for any other purposes than what is indicated in the grant. So they are included in here, and that includes the revenue, the COVID-19 resources that we get from the federal and state government. This also includes the donations, the local donations that we get from the community and all other local sources. So if you take a look at the total expenditures, kind of the same for special and categorical, and then of course the main expenses are in unrestricted general fund. So as you can see for our special education program, the revenues, this is coming from the SELPA and it's coming from the federal government, is 6.8. And so it's not enough to cover total expenditures. We have a contribution from our unrestricted general fund going to special ed. And then there's also a small amount for the categorical program. And but these mainly have enough ending balance for the categorical programs that are going to be carried over to the current year. So I would like to show you that the components of these ending fund balance. So if you would notice, we started the year with 16.2. We have an increase of 7.8. So we ended the year with about 24 million in ending balance. 19.5 is unrestricted, and then the categorical programs. So the next slide, I'm going to show you what are the components of that amount. So the 4.6 for the categoricals, this is the one that I've mentioned that's still intact. This is the emergency response that we set up in 1920 when we don't know at that time whether we're going to get extra money for all the things that we have to do in response to COVID-19. So since we got the stimulus funds, we did not utilize that. It's still there. And then all the ending balance in the categoricals, because we cannot use those for any other purposes but what's indicated in the grants, we're bringing all of those into the 21-22 year and not commingled with the unrestricted general fund. So as you can see, of the 19.5, we are able to meet our state mandated reserve. This is the minimum 3% required in Ed Code. and it's required by the state. We are also able to meet the 3% board mandated reserve. So we have all of 6% in total for the reserve based on the 3% state mandate and the board requirement. So the rest are designations. So the designations here are, for example, the routine restricted maintenance. Some of these dollar amounts here are required to be set aside. We cannot count it as a reserve here because they are required by the Budget Act that we have to set it aside and make sure that they're spent for the same purposes in the next fiscal year. So for example, the routine restricted maintenance, we are required to transfer 3% of the total general fund expenditures to this account to maintain all of our buildings and to maintain all our facilities. And that's a state requirement. So if anything unspent there will be considered legal restricted. So for the RRMA, we have 1.3 million left over there that we can't put in as undesignated or any of the reserve. So similarly, we have remaining balance from the supplemental concentration grant. In the past, there's no requirement to set this aside and bring it over to the following year. But this year, it's a requirement that we cannot commingle the ending balance for supplemental and concentration grant. So this 688,000 will be carried over to the new supplemental and concentration grant money for the 21-22 year. The same thing with the rest of this money. And then some of these items here, especially the other assignments here, we have pending, liabilities that we know that could happen. So for example, we've settled with RCTA and RCAA. We have a pending negotiation with CSAA. That would mean another additional cost to the district if they settled. So we have to set aside some funds. This is not all of it, but that's an example of how we're allocating. So we have also, for the first time as a basic aid district, experienced court orders where we have to return money, the property tax money that we have received in the past. Had we not have enough fund balance, that would have been a big hit to the district. So because of that experience, since we have a little bit of money here in our general fund, and I'm going to show you how we have an increased funding for this year, and which you would understand that it's actually from one-time sources. And so we have put in here set aside for potential tax refunds or future court orders. We know that the settlement that happened in 2021, the two cases that happened that cost about 3.4 million. But we know also, not knowing what would be the dollar impact, but we know that there are several pending lawsuits. One example would be the Genentech that we keep on monitoring that could potentially result in us returning more of our property taxes. So most of the districts, most of the basic aid districts, I think all of them in the basic aid districts in the county are setting aside some money in case that happens. And then the rest, there's a lot of uncertainties, especially with the COVID time. So we are also setting this some funds. So, but all of these designations are not set in stone. So if there are anything that would happen that we need to spend it, that would also be drawn. But it buys us time. It buys us time to take the proper action when anything that have adverse impact on our budget happens. So it's not like something happened, we're going to cut staffing or cut programs in the same year. It buys us time to implement it in future years, and I'm not rushed in making a decision in addressing anything adverse that could happen. So these are great things to have for fiscal, to maintain fiscal stability for the district. So as I mentioned, the last time you saw information about the 2021 is the estimated actuals. So these are the budget numbers at the time. When we are projecting, when we are developing our 21-22 budget, we need to know what our estimates of ending balance for the 2021, so we know how much carryover we're going to be using in 21-22. So at that time in June, this was approved in June 30, before July 1 is the requirement. These are budget numbers. So then this in blue are now the actual. How much of this actually happened? How much of the expenditures was actually incurred? So you'll see the variances, and I'm going to show in the next slide why we spent less than what we budgeted. And so in total, and then you will see here also, these are the contributions to restricted programs during the pre-closing numbers. We're estimating 17.3. We actually only contributed 15.6. So these are the variances between these two numbers. And in total, there is an increase in fund balance by 5.6 million. So these are the components of that 5.6 million. So if you take a look at these, the largest part, I'm going to go over the revenues first. So on the top are changes in revenues. So in terms of property taxes, there's a net increase of 566,000 compared to the estimated actuals. And this is after we've already accounted for the 2 court orders, the City of Redwood City and the Chula Vista case. But then there are also some adjustment from the state principal apportionment. So the net increase is 566,000. Also, we were looking at budget numbers for federal and state, and so we looked at the final numbers from the state and from what is available to us with the Department of Education, actual grant letters that we actually received. And so we saw this increase in federal and some in mandated costs, and some of the state revenues are reduced. So these are not one place. So it's from different programs. So with the net impact of this much. Interest earnings are also recalculated based on actual cash that are with our county treasurers. And so interest earnings is adjusted up by a small amount, 73,000. These local revenues, this is not that we did not receive enough or lower revenue from our donations, for example, other local sources. This is just an accounting thing. For Redwood City School District, some of the donations are considered like grants or categoricals where you don't recognize the revenue if they're not spent. So we may have received the revenues that we're expecting to receive, but because they're not spent, they're not considered a revenue. So it's just an accounting thing. So in total, there's a net increase in revenues of 668,000. So now going back to what appears to be a savings in unrestricted expenditures. This is the largest reduction in salaries, not that we did not pay enough salaries and benefits, but this was the one-time opportunity for the district to recognize some savings based on a grant that was provided by the state. It's called in-person instruction grant. So we were granted approximately 2.7 million in in-person instruction grants. And this one allows, it's like an incentive for school district to implement in-person instruction. So with this grant, it allows the use of salaries and benefits for the teachers and classified employees that came in person during the pandemic. So this was an opportunity for us to move what would have been spent out of unrestricted general fund to a restricted state grant. So that's this adjustment here of 2.2. you will notice also that we have budgeted books and supplies, professional services, and other expenses, and we have this much of unspent amount. This is related to what Ms. Kelly mentioned about difficulty in filling some of the positions that we thought were going to be implemented. This is also the result of us not able to spend the money because if students are in distance learning, you know, there's are just things that happen only because we are in 2021 when we are you know, experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic. Staff working remotely, students are in distance learning. And then because there is a reduction in total expenditures, there's also an adjustment in the indirect cost rate. So that's 3.3 million in adjustment in expenditures savings. Then, you know, if the contributions to the restricted general fund, it's also reduced by 1.6 as I've shown in the previous slide. So this is mainly on special education program. The special education program also received about 500,000 more in funding from SELPA. So, and they have not spent most of their books and supplies, you know, all their contract services and all of that. So there also a 1.6 million reduction in what would have been a contribution to the special education program. So again, in total, these are the main factors why we have an increase in the unrestricted general fund of 5.6 million. So this slide shows all of the district funds, the 7 funds. So this is what I mentioned about the general fund. We've talked about that. Child development, there's nothing really significant change in the child development. In the cafeteria program, this one, during the estimated actuals, if you would recall when we were developing the budget, we're anticipating a deficit here, and that we thought at that time at second interim that we may need to contribute to this program. And that's because at second interim, which is cut off December or January, the trend at that time for revenues is really very low participation for the meals program. But when the district partly opened schools and for in-person learning, we saw an increase in meal participation to a point as we closed the year with a higher revenue than what we thought will happen during the second interim projection. So we closed the books with a slightly net increase of revenues over expenditures and end the year with 1.4 million in ending balance. So the rest is deferred maintenance. This is just a contribution from Fund 25 here, going to deferred maintenance. And this is for just repairs and maintenance of our facilities. And this is the GO bond money. And the projected ending balance for Fund 21 is 71.4. And the capital facilities Fund 19. And this one, a very slight expenditure here, which and a revenue here. This is just earning interest, and then some expenditures, a small amount of expenses for workforce housing project planning. So the rest of the slides would be just showing you the breakdown of the Fund 21 projects. So as you know from previous presentations, the bond modernization construction projects were funded from 3 main sources. The Prop 39, which already fully spent 2 years ago. And then there's still we contributed about 10 million from the developer fees to the bond modernization construction projects. And only 5.7 million is what we have at the beginning of the year. This is almost fully spent, and we have about 136 ending balance as of June 30, 2021. The GO bonds are almost all fully spent. Also, we have over 192 million proceeds from GO bonds. So as of the 2021 year, we have 71.4 million left. The next slide is also a breakdown of our capital facilities fund. Fund 25 includes three other main items. One is the money that we continue to receive from the RDAs. So we started the year with 14.4. All the revenues that we got for the year was kept in this fund. As you saw in the general fund, we didn't need to transfer money to the general fund. We are able to end the year with a higher ending balance. And so all of the money that was earned in 2021 are kept in Fund 25. So we're ending the year with 17.6 million. Plus, of course, the 500,000 that's still in the general fund for a COVID emergency response. And then this is the developer fees that we continue to receive. So this one now is accumulating. So we began the year with 674,000 with all the revenues that we got. This is the 60% portion that goes to the Redwood City School District that's collected and managed by the Sequoia Union High School District for us. And so we ended the year with about 1.4 million. As I've mentioned, this is the one that we transferred over for the bond projects with only 136,000 left. So we have 19.2 in total for the Fund 25. So So I think those are the fiscal information for us. What would be the next step after closing? So we have we're gonna be working on our first interim report for the 21-22 year. And that's the cutoff is October 31, and it will be presented to the board again on or before December 15. So all of the carry balances, the numbers that we have for the 2021 year will be brought forward. We are also going to be making some changes for staffing, other program requirements. Again, we will recalculate the LCFF funding and make adjustment to the 21-22 budget. And then also, we are now working with our auditors to audit the 2021 books. And so the deadline has been extended again. Unlike in 1920, the audit for 1920 was extended to March. This one is extended through January 31. So we're working with our auditors, and we will be presenting the result of the audit sometime in January or February, depending on how when we can finish the report. But definitely, you know, it will be before the deadline. So I think this is all that I have for you, and I will be happy to answer questions.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions, Lisa, but Cecilia and I met with Priscilla and Dr. Baker ahead of time, and I just want to thank Priscilla and her staff. Like everybody else in the different departments, they had some staffing issues, and they made it work. They work extremely hard, and I just want to say thank you very much for all you've done. I also want to say thank you to Priscilla for making those slides this evening with the larger font, so people like myself who have trouble seeing can actually see them, and for keeping us all safe and on target. She always explains everything very well and thorough, and is always happy to answer any questions. So I'm pleased to say that she and her staff have continued to do an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I agree. It's incredible how thorough the presentation is and how easy it is to follow, how it can demystify almost everything in the budget. Thanks for putting in that effort. It's these presentations are remarkable. And again, of course, to the staff, I know you had already said that everybody was working extra hours to be able to pull this together. Trying times with trying deadlines. So thank you, and the departments for collaborating.
You're welcome. Thanks, Mike.
I just want to echo that too. Priscilla, thank you for all the work that you put into this. Your presentations are always easy to follow, and I really appreciate that because I'm not a numbers person. And I know that your department has been short-staffed, and so I know that that puts a lot of extra strain on your employees. So I just want you to please let them know how much we appreciate the extra work that they've put in, and thanks for being with us through all this time. And thank you, Maria and Cecilia, for sitting on that committee too, and combing through all the numbers ahead of time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And for me, I think everybody said the same. Thank you very much for everything you and your department does for the school district. And again, you explained things so well that it's just amazing. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cecilia.
All right, and thanks as well. Really appreciate all of it. And I also wanted to highlight the Cafeteria Fund. That is such great news.
Yeah.
So good work to everybody who worked so hard to ensure that we did not lose money in that fund last year. So thank you to you and Anna and just the whole team.
Yeah, we are also gonna, I think we already have a scheduled food service committee meeting because we're also, making adjustments based on COVID and planning ahead for next year also, because there's some changes in the legislation for the food service program.
Great. All right. Good. Okay, so I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Maria, and then Janet is a second.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Lawson.
Aye.
Trustee Marquez.
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Solcom.
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. All right, so it's a little bit after 9 o'clock. Would we like to take a 5-minute break and then finish things off, or do you want to keep moving?
I'm fine keeping
How about who needs a break? Give me a thumbs up and I'll look at the panelists. All right, we're going to keep moving. I'm assuming the attendees have been able to take breaks when they need to. All right, so we'll just, I don't think we have too many more things on the agenda. Okay, so we'll move on to 14.6, which I know is the GAN limit, which is pretty, something that we have every year. So I don't know that you need to go through it unless there's questions. Maybe we'll go there just because it's getting late. Any questions that folks have on the GAN limit? I'm just glad that you put together the calculations for us, Priscilla. All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
So Mike made a motion, Cecilia seconded it. Roll call vote.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Lawson.
Aye.
Trustee Marquez.
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Solcom.
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. All right, 14.8. This was good to see.
Yeah, so before you is a recommendation to increase the substitute rates as outlined in the board memo. We do an annual review of substitute rates, and so this is timely. Are there any questions?
It plays very much into our other discussion about the need to get our substitutes right. So this is great news. Okay, so if there's no questions, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Yep.
Okay, Janet, motion, Cecilia seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
Trustee Lawson,
Aye.
Trustee Marquez,
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Solcom,
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. All right, we're on to report from board members and superintendent.
I have the bond committee. I think that's the only thing I have to report.
And Cecilia and I had the budget meeting committee, so that's all I have.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there was a bond meeting right after our last meeting. And then Elisa and I met with Wendy for a policy committee meeting this week.
And for me, same as Maria, of course, the budget. And then I also attended the Latinx Democratic Club. They were celebrating the Latino Heritage Month down at Ciclismo, and it was really nice. They had Ballet Folklorico performing and Congresswoman Anna Eshoo speak, and their mission is to get a lot of people of color, Latinx, to participate and run for boards and city councils, etc.
All right, I think, yeah, so I know a number of us attended a couple of meetings the last couple of weeks with the San Mateo County School Boards Association and our superintendent, Nancy McGee, and we already talked about those. I did attend a CSBA webinar on governance in the time of chaos. And I don't know if anybody else attended that. It actually was really interesting. They had a number of speakers, school board members and staff from different districts. And there is just, as you know, a lot going on in the state. And we are fortunate in our community that we have people who believe in vaccines, who believe in masking, who are really taking a lot of this COVID health guidelines seriously. And that is not the case in other places. So I really feel for some of these districts and what they're dealing with. And many of the techniques they talked about in terms of how to manage things we're already doing. So that made me feel really good because they talked a lot about how to manage board meetings and public comment and, you know, all of that. So anyway, let's see, I also attended a couple of Safe Routes to Schools meetings and smaller conversations, and I've been working with Dr. Baker and other staff on follow-ups and just trying to keep our kids safe with regards to getting to school and the other things were already mentioned. Dr. Baker. Oh, muted.
I got to visit Roosevelt, the kids that were taking off for outdoor ed on Monday. So it was great to see them. They were really excited. And there were 6th and 7th graders that were going who hadn't had the opportunity. So it was great to see them take off. And there are a few parents that were there waiting for the buses to arrive and then also waiting until they left to go to outdoor ed. So it's fantastic to see them doing that.
Is that our first school that is headed off for outdoor ed this year?
Yep.
Right.
That's the first one.
Wonderful. All right, let's feel good. Okay, so we had a couple of information items. Hiring of retirees prior to the 100-day separation period. Was there any questions on the board memo or anything more to tell us? I think it was very explanatory.
Yes, I did want to add that for CalPERS, for our classified employees, it's a little bit of a different route. I would bring a unique situation to the board individually with a specifically identified classified member. So other than that, the process is the same.
Okay. And interesting that they're giving us flexibility this year, right? Which is nice, yeah. Okay. The other informational item was the information on San Mateo County Investment Fund. Any questions there? Getting about 1.1%. our money. But I actually was in the bank the other day, and that's better than they were offering. So there you go. All right. Any correspondence? I know we've had correspondence on vaccinations and other sorts of things, testing and that sort of thing. Anything else to add? All right. Other possible business suggested items for future agenda?
Yes, there is one. As you know, AB 361 was the put into play by the governor. I think it was last week on Thursday or Friday, because I started getting all these emails from Claire, from other DWK, about our teleconferencing and to continue virtually. So by October 1st, we need to have us either on our existing board agenda, if you're having a board meeting prior to that, this item, or a special session. So I am recommending a special session on Monday morning at about 8:30. And this has to take place, like I said, prior to October 1. And it's for us to continue virtually at least through the next month of October. And if we want to continue to do it up until it expires January 1st, every month, this has to be an item on our agenda prior to the 30-day expiring. You have to do it every 30 days. So I'd like to hold that on 8:30 on Monday morning, if possible. There'll be a board memo, and then there's a resolution.
So I don't know, Dr. Baker, if you talked to each of the school board members individually, but I know you talked to me that one of the reasons why for October meetings is our room is not quite ready. We need some additional microphones and things like that. And then we also do have the ability to do this in an emergency way, and we meet the standards in other ways as well, right?
Correct. One is the mics.
So we would just...
Right.
Go ahead.
One is the mics, and the other is definitely we're going to have to be masked, because when we're in a group setting like that, we still have to follow the state mandate of being masked. So all districts within this county are going to be doing board meetings next week, if they don't have one already slated to bring this item forward. And Claire and our attorneys from DWK have put together everything for us. They thought they would have it in time for me maybe to attach it to this meeting, but there's no way. There's no way.
All right. So
can I just check real fast? That'll be the only agenda item. So it should be relatively quick meeting. Okay, thanks.
Right.
You actually have to get on to work, Mike? That seems reasonable. Okay, so 8:30 Monday.
Yeah.
And you'll send out information, Eliana, to all of us on that.
Yeah, we have everything ready to go.
Great. And then the other thing I might add, I think this only went to you and me, Dr. Baker, that RCF would like to do a quick update to us. And we're going to try to find time, I believe, on a November. Did we say November agenda? Yeah.
Yeah, we did say November. Right.
Yeah. Okay. And anything else that people wanted to add to our agenda? Topics? Okie doke. And then the board calendar, we kind of just mingled those, but we just added a meeting. And actually, is there going to be an added bonds meeting? Janet, you had kind of mentioned that in passing, but I don't know if that's something that...
Yeah, we got Eliana sent a text out about the special meeting for the bond. It's the end of October, right?
Right. It's that last Wednesday, I believe, in October.
Okay.
President McAvoy, that change is also on the changes to the board agenda schedule, that the study session has been scheduled for October 27th.
October 27th. So you've already added that on there. Okay. Thanks. All righty. Okay. Anything else on the calendar? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Janet made the motion, Mike seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, okay.